And welcome to Education, Leadership, and Beyond, Surviving and Thriving. My name is Andrew Murata, host of the show, and thank you for joining us on this beautiful May afternoon. It is May 20th, Wednesday, May 20th, 2026. Proud member of the Education Podcast Network, VoiceEd Radio Canada, wherever you're taking in your podcast. Thank you for tuning in. As all my shows, I'm excited about today's guest. He's become a great friend, someone who inspires me, and what a story. Jim Stroker, lifelong educator, New Jersey, Staten Island's cousin, has an incredible story. His family, his writing, his speaking, and we are connected through the amazing Dr. Rob Gilbert and Success Hotline. And Jim is just an incredible person, and I've seen him in social settings, and that's how it should be, Jim, the way you treat people, the way you talk to people. So we are going to meet Jim in a moment, but I would like to thank and recognize today's sponsor, IXL. As an educator, we're coming down the stretch. You have all that data from all year long of the work you've been doing with your students. IXL is the great program that helps and supports kids. Here they are.
I'd like to thank IXL for sponsoring today's podcast. Over 1 million teachers use IXL in their classroom every day. IXL is the most widely used online learning and teaching platform K through 12. It empowers schools with complete curriculum, thousands of instructional resources, robust reporting, assessment data, and more. It saves teachers a lot of valuable time with ready-made plans aligned to the standards and the textbooks. Built-in engagement tools like custom competitions make learning fun for students. And IXL's diagnostic is research-proven to be a strong predictor of performance on standardized assessments. And the best part? Everything I just mentioned is all integrated into one platform, so you can simplify your EdTech tools. Visit IXL.com to lead your students towards data-driven excellence today. The link is in the show notes. And again, appreciate IXL sponsoring today's podcast.
All right. Thank you for that. Give the link in the show notes and click there for more information. We're going to meet Jim Stroker in just a moment. And today's opening concept is related to Jim, the power of a single experience, the power of a single action. Jim is a longtime Success Hotline caller, and I am a longtime Success Hotline caller, 973-743-4690. That's the Success Hotline and Dr. Rob Gilbert. And the power of that single action, someone telling me, hey, Andrew, you should try the hotline. You should call it. You would love it. Well, what is it? It's a 3-minute message about being successful that could change your life. And it did that for me. But it also did it for Jim in the most dire of need and the most dire of situations. And Jim calling that hotline totally changed course of his life there. And we're going to hear that story today. So, and again, whether it's the hotline, whether it's changing your diet, whether it's starting that coaching program or whatever it is that you're going to do, that one single action could take you somewhere. And I push you today. I urge you today to do that thing. All right, friends, here he is from New Jersey. Let's bring him in here. Jim, I'm clicking the button. There you are. Welcome to the program, my friend.
Thank you, Andrew, so much. In yoga, I teach yoga, and we constantly, bow and say namaste. And I always raise my hand. Really, what does that mean? It means we bow. We actually bow to the light that you shine, that the energy level, the frequency, this just endless, desire to give inspiration to others. So I bow to you, and I'm just so flattered to be able to call you a friend. So thank you so much.
Right back at you, my friend. People call that a lot of Murata, Jim, Sometimes I got to take a step back. But it's great to be with you, Jim, and lifelong educator, 36 years, not only teaching, but were you 36 years in the middle school? Did I read that right?
Yeah, and I taught in the middle school and then coached at the high school. But I loved the middle school. In the old days, that was where the black belt teachers went. Like anybody can teach, high school kid. The middle school and junior high school in those days, were some of the most incredible kids that needed, people to believe in them. So I loved the environment.
You're doing a lot other things now outside of school, but looking back on your career, 36 years, Ridgewood School District. Tell me, what do you remember? What are the things that stand out to you?
Yeah, well, I loved your opening here today. The power of one moment, and the power that a teacher, a leader, any person that wants to give hope and inspiration, the power you have by what you can say to someone else. I don't know about you. My dad died when I was 9. And this was really the beginning of my story. I'm 9 years old. My dad was 48. My mom was 44. My brother was 14. And then all of a sudden one night, bang, an earthquake happened. And the earthquake was the loss of my dad, a heart attack one night. So, that moment changed my life forever. And, the story that Rob has given us that makes, just put it all together, is the good luck, bad luck story, is, the gold that's hidden underneath the obstacle or the challenge. So that day changed my life forever. But it's the reason that I do forever what I do. I'm trying to relive vicariously the experience I lost. Like I'm actually playing dad right here today. I'm speaking, as if I wish my dad had spoken to me. So that nudged me. And then I'll stop talking. But, when I had 85 kids in a circle underneath me or 30 kids in a classroom, I just was feeling the presence of my father. And so I've always loved what you just said, that I'm just obsessed with like hearing things that create this significant emotional experience, and Rob has taught me that, and you emulate it. But, it's just, God, it's February 23rd, 1980, and there's no chance, right? This U.S. hockey team is getting ready to be slaughtered. The odds in the game are 1 in 1,000, Andrew, 1 in 1,000. And the backstory, they had scrimmaged each other in Madison Square Garden a month and a half before, 16-3. These are college kids playing against professionals. Okay. And that the little fun backstory is the Soviets had won in 1976, 72, 68, and 64. So the last time they lost was 1960. And who won in 1960? Well, you know the answer to that. The United States. And of course, the last one cut from that team was the coach, Herb Brooks. So sometimes these things we go through in our life become the catalyst. They become that codfish that's chasing, keeping us really alive. And so Brooks walks into that locker room, and again, I don't want to overdo this, but what does he say? Like great moments are born from great opportunities. And that's what we have here tonight. The kids are like, opportunity? This is an obstacle, but it's E plus R equal O. It's the way you see the event, right? It's all up here. He goes, one game, just one. If we played these guys 10 times, they might beat us 9. But not tonight. Not tonight. Tonight we skate with them, stay with them, and shut them down because we can. And then I love this one. Tonight, you're the greatest hockey team in the world. Like all of a sudden they start to act as if they're their best self. And then the last part just makes me shiver a little bit. You were born to be hockey players. You were meant, Andrew, to be where you are right now. But this part, this is your time, not yesterday, not tomorrow, right now. Your chance for you to close that gap from who you are to who you can become and to truly be your best self right now, today. It's the only truth. So, like, when you say that to me, like, I wanted my dad to say that, right? He never did. And so now when I hear it and then I want to say it, I say it with a different frequency, because it's like from here, So I love these inspirational things, and sometimes they only work for 2 days, but 2 days is all you need to get out of a rut and get going again. So anyway, too much talking.
I love it. I love the passion. Well, that one moment, how did that one moment come for you? Who and how did you get connected with Rob Gilbert that you started calling the hotline? Because that one phone call that you're going to share changed the course of a terrible thing for you. So who introduced you to Rob?
Well, so let's just get one thing, straight here. Everything happens for a reason. Your entire life is pre-scripted. Okay. You're on a hero's journey, and all the things that have happened to you have happened for you. So you either believe that or you don't believe it, right? And it's hard when you've gone through terrible trauma to believe that was supposed to happen. But one day we'll find out that it was. So my dad has died when I'm 9 years old. My mom suddenly, like after 30 days, and that's my book, Huddle Up, like she said, and she whistled, and we're like, Mom, what? She said, huddle up. Come on in the kitchen, right? And we're like, Mom, what do you mean? What are you doing? I mean, we're in the fetal position, on the couch like this, right? And Mom goes, huddle up. And she brings us in there, and she makes this makeshift whiteboard on the refrigerator. She's got the whiteboard. She's got the refrigerator with signs on it, right? And we're like, what's going on here? And right in the top, Andrew, is E plus R equal O. The events in your life plus your response equal the outcome. And she took her finger and she pointed at that R. She said, boys, events happen, and there's nothing you can do about them. They happen, but they really mean nothing, because what you do with them, how you respond to them, how you see that event, that will dictate the outcome. So she was on offense. She was a quarterback playing offense, not defense. And then underneath that, she had this little saying from her favorite painter, Grandma Moses: life is what you make of it. It always has been and always will be. I mean, this agency we have, right? This power we have, regardless of the situation, we can make a decision to be our best selves. And, you hear it from Rob all the time. The pros do their best when they feel like at their least. So, all of a sudden I go through this. I watch my mom go through this incredible lead us back. And then all of a sudden I become a teacher, and, I'm floating along as life is, like all of a sudden it's like this. And then bang, all of a sudden, the door knocks hard and knocks us to the ground. And that door knock was my principal going, Jim, come quick. Jody and the kids have been in a car accident. So, just to recap, like I've never had a dad. So for me to be a dad with my two children was like dad times 100, right? So when that knock came to say the kids have been in a car accident, it just, our hearts dropped, and we sprinted down the hallway and raced over to this car accident. And my son was being carried out of the back seat with his eyes closed onto a stretcher. And I raced up and said, Jake, he was 4 years old, Andrew. I said, Jake, you're going to be okay. And he didn't respond. And the EMT workers pushed me out of the way and said, Jim, you've got to let us take care of this. This is not good. And they raced Jake in at Valley Hospital and placed him into an induced comatose state. He was bleeding from the brain. And the doctor said he had a 5% chance to make it. Allie was 2, Andrew. 2 was this big. At the time of the accident, she seemed okay, but I sensed something was wrong. 8 hours later, she developed spinal stroke, became paralyzed from the chest down, and then developed pneumonia and was raced to St. Joe's to lie next to her brother on life support. Andrew, there's 8 kids in that arena, all on life support. The 2 in the middle are mine. So I don't know what your worst nightmare would be. Well, for me, this would be my worst nightmare. And, you can't imagine anything that could possibly be worse. But it was actually happening. And so what happened from there, soon after, Andrew, sometimes you need someone. Sometimes those helpers Fred Rogers talks about, or angels or soulmates, just show up. And I knew Rob. I had been calling his hotline, but it was about 5 days after the accident. Jake was in the coma. Allie was not doing well, and we were thrown out of the ICU unit for early doctor's rounds. And I just said to Jody, I said, I just don't know how we're going to do this. I just don't know how. I mean, it's just too much. I can't. I said, I got to go out for a ride. And of course, I'll shortcut it a little bit, but I go out for a ride and I'm on Route 80 at 5:30 in the morning. And of course, you said it before, something inside beckons me, nudges me to call 973-743-4690. And, this pre-recorded voice answered by the name of Dr. Rob Gilbert. And he told me a story that morning that changed my entire life. In the hardest, the biggest situation, he said the right thing at the right time. And I'll shortcut it a little bit. But, it's the story, of course, of the Barnum Bailey Circus, and the main events are all the big tops, etc. I'm taking too much time. But, on the side shows, do you want me to go to do this one, or is it too much?
Yeah, this is your story.
Well,
this is your podcast.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be with you. Don't worry about it.
So,
You're good.
I've told the story 16 million times, but I still love it. So, Andrew, all people are there, but on the side of the main event, there were these sideshows, and the World's Strongest Man was the most popular sideshow. And this guy would do 4 feats of strength and then do what he called the Lemon Challenge. And he put up his life savings, $20,000. That was back in 1930. Now, Rob's telling me this story. I'm on Route 80 driving, right? And I am as low as I can be. Well, as the story goes, the strong man comes out. He rips a phone book over his head. He takes a railroad tie, snatches it over his head, and then crashes it over his right quadricep. Then he takes this big nail, 13-inch nail, puts it between his teeth, bends it in half, and then says, bring me out the phone book, bring me out the lemon, bring me the glass, and bring me the suitcase. She walks out, puts the suitcase on the table, hands the strong man the lemon and the glass, and again, I'm driving. And I'm starting to get a little bit more intrigued by this. Suddenly, the strong man squeezes that lemon, like bone dry. His forearms are bursting, and he's just squeezing it dry. Till finally, he says, anyone who could squeeze 1 drop of lemon juice out of this lemon, and he points to that suitcase. My life savings is yours. Andrew, 10, 12 years, hundreds of people had come up. The biggest strike, nobody could do it. And on this day, Dr. Rob Gilbert, telling the story, said, a woman in the back row with a frail body and gray hair stood up with her walker and said, I can do that. I can do it. Well, she started to walk forward. The laughter started. Even the strong man couldn't keep a straight face. But she walked right up to that suitcase. She looked at that money. And then she reached into her blouse, pulled out a locket. She stared at it and stared. And closed that locket up, put it back in her blouse, took her walker, walked up to that lemon. She held it up over her head and started to squeeze. Now, everyone else squeezed, but she would not stop squeezing. She squeezed and squeezed and squeezed and squeezed, and suddenly the forearms, suddenly the veins in her forearms started to almost perch through through the skin, and she started to shake, and then suddenly, ah! And not one drop, but 2 drops of lemon juice came into the cup. And the strong man stood there, stunned and shocked, and said, "How did you do this?" She reached into her blouse, pulled out the locket, showed the strong man the picture. "This is my grandson. He's 7 years old, and he will die at the end of the week without an operation. The operation cost $20,000. And then she said it, or Rob said it. If there's a big enough reason why, you will always find the how. And if the why is about other people that you love, you'll find strength inside that you never thought you had." That's all I needed to hear. Like, it carried me through my darkest time. Rob Gilbert did that. He carried our family. So that's like one of the big, angel messages from Rob. But take over. I'm talking too much.
And that changed your mindset with this tragedy that you had. How did you bring that energy? How did you bring that positivity to your wife, who I'm sure was in the same devastation state that you were? How did you get her to have the belief that you had?
Yeah. Well, once we got over, we can do this. Then I had been lucky enough to see my mom. My mom was an alchemist. My mom turned metal into gold. She turned a tragedy into an amazing opportunity. She turned a problem into a possibility. My mom said, "We got gypped here. We lost your dad. But watch what happens. I'm going to flip this thing upside." It was always about flipping things. Always like, something happens that wasn't good. How do we turn it into good? And so, when Jake and Allie, Jake woke up after 15 days in a coma. He woke up with one arm, use of one arm, an IQ of 73, leg braces, wore a helmet for 4 years. Allie was fitted for her first wheelchair at age 2. That's what you have. That's a problem. That's an obstacle. That right there is a setback. That right there is a barrier. Or is that a possibility? Where in there is there an opportunity? How can you see something here that might actually be better than what it was? I mean, this takes a lot of work. It really does. But when you start to look for the gold that's hidden, when you start to, and Jake, again, he was catching footballs over his shoulder. He's my son. He was called the coach of every team. Now he's got one arm and he can't move. And so, we immediately said, how could one arm be better than 2? Well, why would one be better than 2? What sport could you play? Immediately we thought, okay, what about a putter in one hand, putt with one hand, okay? And then one will become better than 2. And we just became obsessed with putting in miniature golf courses. And Jake became the New Jersey champ. And, Rob once brought him in, Jake and Allie, and I don't know if you heard the story. It's a fun one, so that story. And then Allie, it's all Epictetus. It's all Stoicism. What's in your control, what's out of your control, the Serenity Prayer. Focus in on what's in your control. Okay? Allie can't run, jump, or skip. Okay? But what can she do? What do we have here? Like, you can jump on that negative anytime you want and picture all the things you can't do. But if you just follow Marcus Aurelius, follow Epictetus, and focus your energy on you and what's up to you, your attitude, your effort, your strategy, your gratitude, all the things that are in your control. Everything else is just a waste of energy. And we learned that it was. So, hey, I was a coach, and now I got a chance to coach in the biggest game of my life. And it was an amazing journey. So,
Jim Stroker, my friends, lifelong educator, Ridgewood, New Jersey. If you're watching live, jump in the chat, say hello. Jim, again, 36 years through this family tragedy here, which again flipped upside down. When did you then start turning this into professional speaking? You've done a lot. You're a professional speaker. You're a life
Yeah.
coach. You're a motivator. You can tell by the way you speak. When did that start happening in your life?
6 months after the accident, I went back to teach. And part of the healing process, this is if you've I know you've read a lot about Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey, right? And the hero's journey when everyone goes through some trauma, some dark cave, some epiphany where they're forced into this darkest hours, and they come back out, a different person. But according to Campbell, the key to the hero's journey is to then take the gift, take what you've learned, and use it to help other people. And then you'll start to heal. It's like post-traumatic stress disorder versus post-traumatic growth. So I've been through a terrible thing, but now because I've been through it, I can now help people who are going through the same tragedy. So as soon as I came back teaching, every class was an inspirational talk on, turn things upside down. I mean, every talk was on E plus R equal O. I mean, every message I gave to whether it was sixth graders or my varsity basketball team, football team, or seventh graders was all the same thing. And I was telling kids, telling students, telling players, you can do anything. You can do anything if this is right. And really, Andrew, I was healing myself because I was talking to myself. And then when they would go out and run through the wall, when they would go out and refuse to give up, when they would go out and do just that little extra, it was like this beautiful synergy that allowed me to heal. So, I didn't, when I'm speaking last week in this big thing, it's no different than when I was speaking to, 23 sixth graders. It's the same show. I mean, just as important to me. So I started doing this early. And then when I stopped teaching, I got a chance to go out with a Native American community, Native Nation events, and did a lot of events with that community and got a real jump start into this.
Yeah. Jim, I just put your website in the chat here, coachstroker.com.
Thanks,
Incredible content in there, videos, links, and you can feel the passion through the screen here, Jim. I got goosebumps just listening to you.
Well,
So when you have an event now, I mean, you look at the name of your talk, like, tell me about what you prepare. You have an hour-long keynote at the New Jersey Conference for Teachers, right? Tell me about preparing for that event.
Well, one of the things I've been doing of late, which I got from Dr. Rob Gilbert, and let me just give you this book, one of the greatest books ever written, Moonwalking with Einstein, by Joshua Foer. And Moonwalking with Einstein is a story about a journalist, a reporter, that is on a mission to go out and find the world's smartest person. Like, I got to find the smartest person in the world. I got to find how they became the smartest person. So trying to figure out how they did, where they find them out. Suddenly he goes, okay, it's easy. I'll just go out to the world's international memory competition, because the person that can remember the most, they remember everything like that, right? So he goes out, across the ocean and goes to this event, and this guy wins. And he starts interviewing, and he goes, you must have been like a savant, a genius. Your IQ is probably, he goes, I don't know the truth. I had like solid C's in school. I wasn't that smart. He goes, why? He goes, yeah, I just know memory tactics. I know how to remember things. It's a skill. And so Joshua Foer is like, could you teach me those skills? What if I hired you for 6 months? You taught me the skills. Could I be the champ? And that's the story. He did, and he became the champ. But these skills, and I know I'm sure you're privy to, these memory palaces, which all the great orators use all the time. So memory palace, and I'll shorten it, just so great. It's what all doctors use. It's a way of remembering certain things and associating them to something so the palace is something you already know. When I leave my house, I ride down Ridgewood Avenue. I have 136 parts of my memory palace that are all stuff I talk about. I wake up with Morfatti, Act as If. I get in the car, Acres of Diamonds, Amelia Earhart, the Arlen Williams story, My Three Lights, Abe Lincoln, Burn the Boats. Okay. Then from there, I go to Texas Billionaire, Mark Brackett. Then from there, I go the Butterfly Story from Gilbert. Then from there, I'm Buffaloes and Cows. Then from there, I'm Boeing Story. Then from there, I'm Sarah Blakely. From there, I'm the Two Buses, Act as If, Because of This, Something Good Will Happen, Codfish Story, The Chinese Bamboo Tree, The Carpenter Story, Jordan Peterson Story, Crazy. 137 like that. I go through them every day, and they're right there. So now what happens to me, they're fresh. They're fresh. Like the stories that you and I know, and like, oh, that's right, I forgot that one. Now every day I'm reviewing those stories. So I'm like a quarterback, and I can throw like 50 routes because I threw them all yesterday. And now I can, you talk to Rob. You talk about bang story, bang, bang, bang. I mean, just okay. Tell me, here's the subject matter. Codfish. Here's the subject. Three cowboys. Give me a story about, at least the Michelangelo story is so golden. The David story is so golden. That one, that's what I'm trying to be, like Malcolm Gladwell. Like Gladwell now takes the freaking stories and goes deeper, right?
Yeah.
Deeper. Like the Michelangelo story is it's 1463. They bring the 17-foot slab of marble they get from the Carrera, and they bring the slab of marble in, and they want a sculptor to create David. David's their emblem. David's the signature, the symbol of a small a city being able to go up against these teams, and they bring it in, and Agostino Di Duccio takes this, and for 4 months he works on it. He goes, it can't be done. It's too brittle. It's too narrow. This is no good. It sits there, Andrew, for real. It sits there for 13 years until they bring a new sculptor in, and his name is Antonio. His name is Antonio Rosolino. Antonio takes 5 months until he says, no, it's no good. Can't be done. It sits there now for 24 more years until this 26-year-old kid comes in and goes, wait a minute. Are you kidding? I see something you don't see. I see the event, and what you're not seeing is below the casing, underneath that. It has nothing to do with I see Michelangelo, I see David in there. And this is what all teachers, all great leaders, they see something inside. Forget about the fact that the kid is a wise guy. He comes from a tough family. I see it inside of him. And so he, for 3 years, he chips away all the shit. He chips away all the garbage and goes, here it is. And that story for every teacher, every leader, that's the goal when we don't give up on anybody, right? The best guys are the guys who most people already gave up on, I think. People who have gone through turbulence in their life, who don't have it all together, they're the ones, if you get them, you got something special because they have empathy. They've been through stuff. So I just, these stories, they get, and then the last part, I don't have to jump up and down. I don't have to throw a football. I don't have to sprint down. I can actually get better at age 75, than I was at age 63. And maybe it's 70, as long as because you get more entrenched in them. So,
well, my friend Sid Sexton in Texas loves you, Jim, and she gave you a nice shout out in the chat there. Well, Jim, you only had 18 minutes when you did it. I think it's a couple minutes shorter. There's your TED Talk, and I put it in the chat. Dr. Gilbert said it's the best TED Talk of all time. Love the white suit, Jim. You just mentioned 136 stories, but you could only pick a few in there. Tell me about the preparation for this event and what it meant for you to do this TED Talk.
Yeah, I mean, look, Andrew, I mean, this is Rob Gilbert stuff. I mean, the biggest mistake you can make is the TED Talk's the big talk, right? Every talk to anybody that needs hope and inspiration is the big talk. So I was prepared. I've done more important talks than being in front of an audience than a TED Talk, but it's got kind of this big shiny picture about it. And the key is preparation, right? The key is and this, and I loved it. Like 57% of all presentations, Andrew, 57% of what you take from this is body language. I mean, like that's the key, right? I mean, to look like I mean, if I'm coaching a basketball team on the sideline and I'm like this, get low, come on, play D, get up, come on, get up on them, let's go, you can do it. So, when you're speaking, if the talk is inspirational, it's body language, right? And then, of course, Rob Gilbert has taught us the ability to, just pause and change tonality, but know this stuff. Like I do ice baths every day, which I love. And I'm in there going through this stuff in the ice bath. This is the David Rickert story, which I love so much. I won't go there, but you want to be able to flip this stuff out in the middle of a snowstorm, in the middle of the night, like anytime it's so I prepared well for it and then just had fun because, Andrew, as you age, you put things in perspective and you realize, it's cool to do a TED Talk, but in the big picture, it's just another talk. But it was a load of fun and we got some good feedback.
Well, the link is in the show notes there. Definitely, thanks, Jim, a positive comment there. I loved it. And again, Rob been very complimentary of it. But in addition to that, you also you have your book here. I know you just read it on Audible. You're doing it now. Jim, tell me about your process of writing. A lot of people talk about writing a book. You did it. I love the cover. I love that it's your story of your mom and what that meant to you. Tell me about your process of putting your words, your story into this book here.
Yeah, it's a fun little part of it because, I'm not a writer. I'm a speaker. I'm a verbal learner. I much prefer Audible to the written word. I love to hear. So the entire book was written, and transcribed out of me, speaking into my phone, the entire book, and it was transcribed and then fixed from there. But it's all, it's all just like I can't write as fast as I can think. So I'm much better off, speaking. And people go, can I write a book? I don't know if I can. Well, if I ask you a question right now, like what's the biggest challenge you've ever been through in your life? What's the biggest epiphany that's ever happened to you? What one event, has changed your life forever? Well, everyone can just speak for 3 minutes, like pretty well, and if that was transcribed, you might have your first chapter right there. I don't think it's, so that's kind of it. But what about you? Can I flip this a little bit? You're like the greatest guy in the world, but you are, you are for us, we look at you as the Tom Brady of this world because you're making things happen, even with the podcast. I'm doing a podcast, but I've got other people doing it for me. You're like, screw it. I'll pull this off. So you, for some reason, you have this vibrance, this energy to constantly be growing, constantly getting better. Where does that come from?
Yeah, surviving and thriving, Jim. You know, like you said, you've been through the battles when you get knocked down. I wasn't very good at a lot of things, but I was persistent, and
Yeah.
that's how I got my wife to marry me. You know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
nah,
But do you think that's your secret sauce? Your work ethic, your persistence, your tenacity?
like you said, though, you just said it earlier. The older you get, the more you want to make a positive impact on people. You've been helping kids 36 years at Ridgewood High School. I learned I wanted to be a teacher when I was teaching basketball camp, and I showed the kid how to make the layup. He makes the layup, and I'm like, man, wow, I like that. I had an impact on that kid,
Yeah.
and that's what led me to be teaching. But I don't know. A lot of the Gilberts, there's more, do more than expected, make that positive impact, that significant emotional experience.
Yeah.
And with the podcast and the blog and the speaking,
Yeah.
we get to do those things, right? We get to do those things. And just like you shared about calling the hotline, you don't know where that impact's going to land. Right? How many people has Jim Stroker positively affected because he spoke to their school or spoke to their group? Maybe there was a family that was down in their luck and read your book or heard you speak, and you changed their life. You might not know that, but you're making an impact on them.
Yeah.
So
So you come across extremely confident. That's where you come across, not timid at all or shy, and very sure of yourself. Your assertiveness is not any way overbearing, but it just feels like the right amount. So have you always had this level of confidence when you were younger, or did something happen to take you to the next level? Or were you always like this?
yeah, I mean, I guess now maybe it's considered confidence. I've been doing it a long time, but when we were younger, I was just trying to figure it out. But I was never embarrassed. If I fell, I just got up again. If I missed the shot, I tried to get the rebound. I don't know. I just never. I just not embarrassed, being afraid. That when we grew up, we didn't have phones, right? Nobody was filming us. Now the kids are afraid, right? Your kids, right? You take a picture, they got to see it before they post it.
Yeah.
We didn't have that. It was what it was, and
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it comes off as confidence now, but. Act as if, right? That you're not afraid to fail, and
but you're assertive without it coming across like it's just that perfect that Goldilocks effect, right? Like you're not too hot, not too cold, not too big, not too small. You got that nice balance, that sweet spot.
I'll make sure I send that to Mrs. Murata that you said that. Well, this is your podcast. Now, I want to talk about you and the work you're doing. I'm flattered, and thank you for speaking to me. But this is again not. It's for your impact on others, Jim. And the podcast is in. The TED Talk's in the chat. Jim's website's in there, and the work you're doing. I mean, it's phenomenal. Did you say you're 75 years old?
Well, I'm 74 3/4. So I like to up it a little bit now. Like I'm boasting that I'm older, because there's a certain level here, where if you think you can pull off looking young, you're better off going, I'm 80, and they're like, holy shit, you look great. If I say I'm 73, they're like, well, whatever. But it kind of works there. So it's kind of a game. But I would like to talk about one thing that's kind of fun. Not fun, but when you've been through what you would say is the worst thing you could ever go through, when you've been there, when you've experienced it, right? Once you've been through it, it puts perspective on other things that are difficult, like things that would normally scare people. You don't get scared so much anymore. It's like, if you've lived through what we've lived through, so walking into a room to speak to, a group of 80, traders from Morgan Stanley or UBS, or, last week I was at the Philadelphia Insurance. I mean, there's not even a glimmer of fear anymore, right? But so after I coach, about 3/4 of the way through, I've always been like so intrigued by this part, the psychology of sport, right? Like what's going on upstairs, and always been really intrigued by, the power of breathing, self-talk, visualization. I mean, this is what all, golfers have been doing it for years, but now it's breached into, the pro football community. Or if you watch the Knicks last night, I mean, or LeBron meditating before the game, or, it's all this inside game now, right? And I've always been intrigued by that. So, I suddenly, had this kind of teacher who I really liked, that I taught with, and she became a yoga teacher. Said, you ought to come to one of my classes. And in those days, I was like, about 187 and, benching probably 315. So yoga was like so I went, and it just was like an experience I've never had before. And it really gave me a chance to play a sport called yoga. I'm making that up, and really get inside and feel what's going on in here, and actually notice your breathing style, and actually become aware of the fact that you're meditating. And I became so turned on by it that I went out and got my yoga certification. But of course, what do I want to do with that? The last thing I want to do is teach a yoga class up in Franklin Lakes to, 14 rich. So now I get all these jail opportunities, and I get sent first to the Bronx, and I'm working in lockdown facilities with Bloods and Crips, which was just incredible. And then I breached it down to Newark, working at the Integrity House in a lockdown facility. And then finally got a chance to go to the Hudson County Federal Correctional Facility in Hudson County and started working there. And this experience was probably one of my top 10 highlights. And I still teach in the Hudson County Jail. But going in there and working in there has just been really life-changing. Really has. It's taught me so much. And it just, when you go in, and again, I'm in a minimum security area. These aren't necessarily people who have, done terribly horrible things, but they're all just good people who have made, unfortunately bad mistakes, had very little support, and probably grew up in an environment where, what they started. But I've just really, I love going into a place where others would be, wow, and feeling like I have no fear at all. And when you come with love, when they see that you care. And then, my gift is that I say I haven't been in prison. You haven't been here, but I, in a second, would have traded places, and I would have gone to jail rather than gone through what I've been through. So I haven't been to this type jail, but I've been in jail in another way. So I know where you're at. I know what you feel like. And I also know that everyone has a chance, because E plus R equal O. The event is you're here. But what you do with it, and Andrew, 7% of the people in prison, they're getting better. They're actually getting better because they're there. 93%, 40% are like, this sucks. I can't wait till I get out. But that's the Rob Gilbert story. And that's Allie's greatest story. Allie's greatest line is when she rolls out and says, for years and years and years, doctors were trying to make me better. Now she's in a wheelchair, right? And then one day I realized I was better. That's it. You're better with those flaws, those imperfections, the challenges you've gone through, the bruises, the bumps, the scars. That's what makes you so special. That's the beauty of you. And, it's, we all try to walk around and look perfect, but, the most beautiful people have been through a lot of hard times. So it's not what's happened, it's how you respond. That's Gilbert. And all right, thank you.
Jim Stroker, my friends, here on the podcast. Great. Jim, we got to go, but I want to show one more image. We were here together. Oh, wrong one. Sorry. Why did that happen?
Yeah.
There we go. The day in Montclair, we got to spend the day with Dr. Gilbert and friends. Last question here, Jim. What did it mean for you to be here and share And you came in from a speaking engagement. You hustled, you got off a plane, and you zipped over here. You got to be with us. Tell me what this meant to you.
Well, I mean, I would consider Rob, one of the 2-3 most influential people in my life. I really would, and probably the most influential, if the truth be known, because he's done it without really knowing it. For me to go through 137 Gilbertisms every day, and that's what I make my living on. So he's meant so much, and being with this group of people that are all kindred souls, they all have that same love and tremendous admiration for Rob. So it's an incredible day that, of course, you planned, you made happen, and that's your thing. You're the Three Frogs story without any question, right? A lot of people decide they're going to do it, but not too many actually do it, and you do. So thank you, Andrew.
Well, it was phenomenal. I got to run, my friend. My daughter.
Yeah, go.
But this is Jim Stroker, friends. Jim, when the book is on Amazon, if they want copies for their organization or personalized, your website.
Yeah, and come to my website. We'll bundle up some good stuff if they're interested.
Awesome. And the best way for someone to contact you regarding
right on that website, CoachStroker.com.
And check out his YouTube, a bunch of great clips on there, the TED Talk, and good luck with the Audible book.
Thanks.
I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks so much, Andrew. Namaste. Thank you, my friend.
You're the man. Stay on the line a second, Jim. We're going to get out of here, friends. Keep surviving and thriving. And Jim dropped a lot of nuggets here today. It's not where you're going, what you're going through. It's where you're going to. And I feel super inspired. I got to get my flexibility down, Jim. Be well, my friend.
Thanks so much, Andrew.